Hello everyone, and thanks for hanging out with us for the Behind the Numbers Weekly Listen, an e-marketer podcast made possible by marketing architects. This is the Friday show that reviews the most, what did you just say to me? Media and retail news stories of the week. I'm your host, Marcus Johnson. In today's show, what to make of Snap's profit warning.
Some of those big traditional spenders like alcohol and auto are cutting back on spending as well. I think this is more of a Snap issue or a greater Snap issue than it is a general issue, personally.
How not to greenwash.
People will use the internet to unearth a brand's dirty secrets. So it's better to set reasonable goals and do as much as you can to try and control the narrative.
LL Bean quits social media for a month.
Even though they're off the actual posting on their native feed, if they're still advertising through social, what is the real loss for them?
Walmart expands drone deliveries, an unpopular opinion about rating things, and I have a bunch of stats on weddings. Join me for this episode, folks. We have three people. Let's meet them. We start with an analyst. Yes, it continues. On the advertising and media team, it's Evelyn Mitchell.
Hey, Marcus. Hey, everyone.
There she is. We're also joined by the principal analyst who is the head of our marketing practice. It's Dave Frankland.
Hey, Marcus. Incredibly excited to be here.
Yes. Whoa. It's coming in hot. We like it. We're also joined by Blake Drosch. He is one of our senior analysts on the retail and e-commerce team.
Thanks, Marcus. I'm happy to be here, but not nearly as excited as Dave is.
Clearly, yeah. Yeah, we assume that. Thanks for being here, people. What do we have in store for you? What's on the menu? We start with the starter, which is our story of the week. What to make of Snap's profit warning. We move to the main course, which is our game of the week. Our contestants, Evelyn, Blake, and Dave, will go head to head, give us the best takeaways they can from each of the 4 rounds that we have for you to win a championship belt. We move to dessert, which will be uncommon knowledge. We'll talk about some unpopular opinions. And finally, the coffee and cheese board, which will be dinner party data. We'll talk about some random trivia that we've just been reading about, learning about. We start with the story of the week. That's our starter for today. What to make of Snap's profit warning. Snapchat owner Snap Inc. issued a warning to investors last week that it will not meet its revenue projections in Q2, it's this quarter, because of worsening economic conditions. Think supply chain issues, the war in Ukraine, inflation, etc. That sent its stock into a free fall and stirred concerns about the state of digital advertising overall, notes insider intelligence analyst Daniel Konstantinovich. Snap said they'll be cutting costs and slowing hiring. This news comes after the company falling short of its own sales forecast in Q1. Dave, I'll come to you first. Your thoughts on this? Does Snapchat's lowered expectations signal a broader slowdown in the online ad market to you, or was this a bit of an overreaction?
It feels like a little bit of an overreaction to me. Several of our colleagues just put out a report called The Era of Uncertainty, where we looked at everything from tech issues, supply chain issues, war, inflation, etc., that are just taking their toll on businesses across the board. So my question on this is whether this is sort of a reflection of that era of uncertainty, or is this a Snap issue? And on the one hand, you say they're still projecting growth. It's just slowed down considerably. On the other hand, certainly anecdotally, they seem to have lost their shine while TikTok is in the ascendancy. But there's other factors at play too. You look at everything from, you guys talked earlier in the week about, or Bill was talking about beer bottles in Germany on Monday. And we know that, there's car parts that can't be had. So, some of those big traditional spenders like alcohol and auto are cutting back on spending as well. I think this is more of a Snap issue or a greater Snap issue than it is a general issue, personally.
Yeah, I guess it's quite easy to see it as an overreaction, or maybe as something much, much bigger because of what happened with the stocks. Snap's news dragged down other social stocks, Pinterest, Twitter, Meta, and others also fell. Google also dropped with other ad tech stocks. So it did seem like it was a massive deal at the time. Evelyn, where do you land?
So from what I understand, consumers haven't really pulled back on spending quite yet. So to me, this feels almost like the digital ad industry is manifesting a downturn. Don't get me wrong, these challenges are very real and there are a lot of them. So I would expect there to be some sort of contraction, but it's the domino effect that's really grabbed my attention here, because investors have every right to be as sensitive to these things as they want to be. But it feels like if we weren't on track towards a recession before, we might be now. And this is at play in that relationship for sure.
Yeah. It seems like a very different story to the one that our numbers seem to tell. So our forecasts indicate the US digital ad revenues climbed 35% last year, will grow a further 18% this year, and 14% next year. So it goes 35, 18, 14, so 18% this year. Blake, it seems like things are, yes, they're not growing at the rates that we've seen during the pandemic for obvious reasons, but it's still a pretty healthy 18%.
Yeah, I don't know. I've been talking to some agencies over the last couple of weeks, looking particularly about ad spending in the retail industry, and a lot of the switch that you used to see at the beginning of the year then this is specifically in the retail industry, which I cover. A lot of the switch you would see is very performance heavy at the end of the year, and then in the first 2 quarters of the year, there's more of an emphasis on brand marketing. But I think because of the fact that there's going to be maybe a little bit anticipation of tightening the belt, that advertisers are focusing less on branding and more on performance and trying to measure a little bit of a stronger ROI as sort of these ad dollars become a little bit more precious as they want to cut back. And I wonder if, they're leaning towards certain social networks over others that might figure into the mix of how different advertisers are looking at brand versus performance. And maybe with Snap in this instance, it's more of a brand marketing vehicle. I do know that, they're heavy on video. They also do have a lot of shoppable media components with it. But I think that things are really uncertain right now because of sort of these impending economic consequences on spending behavior for consumers and also just the tightening belt of advertising budgets. So I'd be skeptical to sort of judge Snap as like the canary in the coal mine right now, just because there's so much in flux.
Yeah. Speaking about those advertising budgets, our analysts, so they recently put out a note which was related to the report Dave mentioned, the era of uncertainty, and they put out a note on that. Basically, one of the points in there was Snapchat and its outlook. They're saying basically they stake their future on AR, augmented reality, which holds promise, but is still very niche as an advertising or e-commerce tool. That positioning will become more difficult to sustain if advertisers cut marketing budgets and pull back on experimental ad formats. And then the other point they make, which I thought was very pertinent, is the ad recession, if it happens, may not affect all social media companies equally. We mentioned a couple of the stocks that dropped: Meta, Pinterest, Twitter, some others. However, as Snap is struggling to meet their goals, others like TikTok may not be. TikTok's US net ad revenues will soar by 185%. That's right, 185% to nearly $6 billion this year, according to us, riding that vertical and social video wave. The report that Dave mentioned, the era of uncertainty, is out. If you're a pro subscriber, you can check that out at insiderintelligence.com. All right, that's all we've got time for the story of the week. It's time now for the game of the week. But first, a quick word from our sponsor, Marketing Architects. TV advertising is a powerful channel for growth, but the traditional process for launching TV campaigns is expensive and complex. That's why Marketing Architects changed it. With all-inclusive TV advertising, they invest their own money to produce, analyze, and optimize your campaign. All you pay for is media, setting you up for rapid growth at an extreme cost advantage. This approach is so revolutionary, they wrote a book about it. Go to marketingarchitects.com/book to get your free copy today. All right, folks, we are back. It's time now for the game of the week. Today's game, what is the point? Where I read out 4 stories and have contestants, Evelyn, Blake, and Dave, tell us what they think is the main takeaway of the story. Okay answers get 1 point. Good answers get you 2, and answers that give you the same feeling as hearing Beyonce sing, answers that leave you with that feeling, they get you 3 points. I was trying to think of who's the best. Whose voice should I have used instead of Beyonce's? Or did I feel like I nailed it?
Beyonce's kind of overrated in my opinion. We could skip that to the next section.
We move straight to unpopular opinions. Blake, go.
Aretha Franklin, probably, I would say, as my favorite voice.
Good save. Okay. Answers that leave you with either of those feelings from either of those people, they'll get you 3 points. Answers that run long They're getting you a technical foul and minus 2 points. 2 technicals gets you ejected from the game. Whoever has the most points wins, gets the last word. We start with Evelyn. How not to greenwash. Sustainability pledges without accountability hurt all brands. Notes a recent Adweek piece by Jonathan Hansen, co-founder and CCO of ad agency Unconquered. He notes that sustainable clothing company 10 Tree recently pledged to plant 10 trees for every article of clothing bought. The tree planting is verified by an in-house tech platform cleverly named Veritree. That's because 7 out of 10 folks don't think brands will deliver on their promises, according to Havas's Meaningful Brands report. But Evelyn, how not to greenwash? What's the point?
So marketing on sustainability or any other social issue for that matter, of course, comes with risks, especially if you have no interest in actually putting in the work to make a difference. There are also risks in doing nothing at all. And either way, people will use the internet to unearth a brand's dirty secrets. So it's better to set reasonable goals and do as much as you can to try and control the narrative in your favor. Also, I get bad vibes from initiatives that promote sustainability through more consumption. One of the articles we read mentions that profitability and sustainability are not exclusive to each other. And I think theoretically that can be true, but realistically, there's a reason we are where we are with the climate crisis. So I just get bad vibes.
Blake.
Yeah, I think sort of the unfortunate reality is that for a lot of brands, it is really about, first and foremost, the PR around sustainability and not exactly the actual sustainability efforts. But I think, as Evelyn said, there certainly is the potential for pushback if a brand is sort of caught red-handed not coming through on their sustainability efforts. And while a lot of brands might be getting away with it now, I don't think that's always going to be the case. I think in the future, consumers are going to become a lot more critical of actual purported sustainability efforts. So I like the idea of being able to prove sustainability, but I do think that this particular example is also kind of like gimmicky. So there needs to be a medium, I think.
Dave.
Yeah, I was going to use the same word as Blake. We had a report come out on Wednesday about values-driven consumers, and the call in that report was to skip the gimmicks and focus on authenticity. No matter what social issue we're talking about, sustainability being one, brands just have to start with their own brand values, communicate authentically, get the balance right between engagement, action, restraint. And this feels like a gimmick, to use Blake's word. I also think they're grading their own homework. If they want to prove that they're doing something, get somebody independent to authenticate it.
2 points from me. One was 10 Tree talks about using an impact wallet that accumulates points to redeem for discounts, products, or reinvestment into their efforts, deepening the client-brand relationship. I do kind of like that. There was a soup peddler in Austin. It's a small soup company. They had this loyalty scheme where if you get a certain number of points, you can ask them to donate a certain amount of money for you. So they donate like $20 to a charity or something like that. I thought that was pretty cool. If you get the most amount of points, you get to play chess with the owner. It got weird after the donation thing.
I'm not sure I would want to play chess with anybody. So
yeah, it was quite strange. But I also like the idea of accumulating those points. So you can see your impact over time through, your loyalty with a brand, as opposed to, okay, I did one good thing now, I feel good, but what does that mean next time? And then the second point was 55% of people say they've made moderate changes to their shopping habits in the past 5 years in an effort to be more eco-conscious, according to a 2021 study by Simon Kutcher and Partners. So over half of people are making at least moderate changes to their behavior based on being more eco-conscious. Move to our second round. We start with Blake. Being served the wrong ads. Nearly half of US consumers have been served incorrect ads, writes Insider Intelligence analyst Daniel Konstantinovich. According to a survey from PriceLab, 48% of folks say they've been incorrectly targeted for ads. Daniel notes that of the 49% who said they received incorrect ads, 42% of them immediately unsubscribed from the brand's content, and 24% went so far as to block the brand on social media. Daniel notes that advertisers are failing to identify even the most basic aspects of a consumer's profile, since 28% of people said they were served an ad for a product that was not age appropriate. But Blake, being served the wrong ads, what's the point?
I think that the point is that there's always been a degree of incorrect ad serving on digital. There's obviously a higher standard for it as opposed to traditional advertisement. But consumers can't expect to have every single ad tailor-fitted precisely to their needs. And obviously, I think that's the goal of brands. But I think, a lot of the times it does pay to cast a really wide net as opposed to trying to, target specifically to an extremely hyper-relevant audience. So I wouldn't let this data deter a brand from trying to reach as many eyeballs as possible, because personalization is great, but at the end of the day, we all know eyeballs has a lot of value too.
Dave?
I found this bloody confusing, to be honest, and not particularly surprising when I tried to parse it apart. 49% say they are aware of being incorrectly targeted. That ignores all the stuff they're not paying attention to. Then they unsubscribed from something. If it's an ad, what are they unsubscribing from? That being said, if you read between the lines, I think generally advertisers have themselves to blame for consumer reaction. They've never successfully communicated the benefit of capturing and using consumer data. Now we're in a far more privacy-aware world, and they're being denied access to it, and consumers are having a less positive experience as a result.
Evelyn?
So this prompted me to go download my data segment summary from Oracle Data Cloud, which is one of the most prevalent third-party data players out there. So when advertisers use third-party data to target messages at me, this is the information they're working with. Some of it was right, but a lot of it was wrong. For example, there were 4 languages listed, only one of which I speak fluently, 2 of them I speak absolutely none of. And so yes, the proportion of consumers that are seeing ads that aren't relevant to them according to this survey, it's not ideal. I just wonder if these survey results are actually all that different from what they would have been, say, 5 years ago, before the industry really began reassessing identity resolution in any meaningful way. And even if they are different, there's been a lot of public buzz about personalized advertising recently, so there might be some sort of confirmation bias at play here where consumers expect to be seeing poorly personalized ads, so they, A, notice it when it happens, like Dave mentioned, and 2, B, have a stronger reaction to it when it does happen.
Or 2. Nearly 7 out of 10 people stopped doing business with an organization because it asked for too much personal information, according to a recent survey by Wakefield Research. Move to our third round. We start with Dave. Currently, Evelyn's out in front with 6 points, Dave with 5, Blake with 3. LL Bean quits social media for a month. LL Bean quit social media for Mental Health Awareness Month, writes Insider Intelligence Briefing's director, Jeremy Goldman. Instead of posting, the company is encouraging folks to get outside. The outdoor apparel company also announced a $500,000 contribution and a 2-year partnership with Mental Health America. Jeremy notes, but Dave, LL Bean quitting social media for a month, what's the point?
Yeah, I think the actions they took are pretty admirable. I think the donations, the partnerships, they feel very real. The coming off social media for a month felt like a PR attempt. As Jeremy noted, it was, is it designed for the earned media to outweigh the social, and they could have posted every day about mental health rather than just coming off altogether. So I get what they're trying to do. I think they botched it a little bit, but I think, credit where it's due. They gave a donation. They're trying to bring attention to an important topic, and full credit to them.
Evelyn?
Yeah, I feel similarly to Dave. Personally, I can't stand when brands try to leverage cause-driven marketing, and it's just so clear that it's the result of someone looking at the calendar and saying, hey, it's this month today, and fitting themselves into conversations that are not about them in any way whatsoever. I think LL Bean did something right in connecting this to getting outdoors and leveraging nature to help folks kind of bolster their mental health. I think that's a good message, but at the end of the day, it is all about PR.
Blake?
I'm just wondering what happens to the LL Bean social media manager for this month. Like, does he get the month off? Is he going to get paid? Like, is he on paid leave?
He's out meeting people in the outdoors.
Exactly. Are they putting on him through some sort of survivor challenge where he has to, live off the land for 30 days? Or did he just get fired and they decided that this is a pretty good time to take a break from social media? But anyways, I am like 95% sure I got served an LL Bean ad on Instagram this morning. So even though they're off the actual posting on their native feed, if they're still advertising through social, I mean, what is the real loss for them to sort of otherwise, other than raising awareness and, the donation, I think are good things. But I agree that, the fact that they're just, hanging up the vacation sign is a little bit of a gimmick to just, I think, create a little buzz for themselves.
The social causes marketers focused on last year were race and social justice, 38%, combating the pandemic, 31%, and climate, 23%, according to advertiser perceptions. We move to our final round. It's double points, round 4. We start with Evelyn. Walmart expands delivery drones. Thanks to a partnership with DroneUp, Walmart customers in 6 states will soon be able to have their orders delivered by drone in less than 30 minutes, marking the first large-scale drone delivery operation in the US and potentially reaching 4 million US households. So far, drone deliveries have only been available in a few small towns. The 6 new markets include Phoenix, Arizona, Tampa and Orlando in Florida, Dallas, Texas, Salt Lake City in Utah, and Richmond, Virginia. Drone delivery will be available 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. from at least 3 Walmart stores in each city. Joanne Muller of Axios notes that 100,000 items can be delivered for $4. Okay, you can't order 100,000 items for that's insane. 100,000 are available. You know what I meant. Weighing up to 10 pounds for these items. Workers, or each item. Workers at the maybe. Is it each item for total package? Probably for total package, I guess, per package. Workers at the Walmart location receive the order, pack it, secure the box to a drone, and then a pilot flies the drone to the customer and it's dropped onto their front lawn using a giant claw. But Evelyn, Walmart expanding drone delivery, what's the point?
So it seems like there are a lot of barriers to getting this to scale meaningfully from an adoption perspective, especially since there are already quick commerce alternatives available in a lot of these markets. Personally, I would not pay $4 to get 10 pounds worth of stuff delivered by a drone. Not to mention the service is limited to places where people have yards to drop the packages into. So that takes densely populated urban centers pretty much off the table for this. So I'm kind of ambivalent on this one. I don't know if it's just the discussions we've had today, but my mind does go to sustainability, and I'm not sure how these drones are powered or whether it takes less fuel, gas, or electric to deliver the same amount of inventory as more established delivery infrastructures. But if we can overcome the barriers to scale and accessibility and there's a sustainability benefit, then I'd be excited to see where this goes.
Blake.
Yeah, I think drone delivery is one of those like dystopian things that I'm actually leaning into. I just think it'd be cool. But, I think bringing up quick commerce is sort of where my mind goes, being the fact that all of these startups seem to be hemorrhaging money. And, a lot of it has to do with the fact that the logistics of it haven't really been figured out. And I don't think that drone delivery is going to be the preeminent method of fulfillment for quick commerce in the next couple of years, but in the long term, why not? I could see it absolutely becoming a way for packages to be delivered in the not so near future.
Dave.
Yeah, I'm bullish on it within reason. To answer Evelyn's point, it is faster, safer, greener, quieter than a lot of other delivery, if not most other delivery methods. Obviously, there's certain things that can and can't be delivered. There's a lot of stuff to be figured out. There's regulation needed. There's an unmanned versus a manned conversation to be had. This has been going on in Ireland for a few years now with you can get a cup of coffee within 3 minutes. Arrives piping hot, delivered. You decide where you want it delivered and it just arrives. But, you think beyond that to things like medical supplies and things that would be really, really important to get in a timely manner. I think there's huge opportunity. I just don't think it's going to be everything, whether it's sub 10 pounds or not.
Mm-hmm. That's all we've got time for the game of the week. Today's winner. A drum roll. It's Dave! Dave wins this week's game of the week. 14 points to Evelyn's 12 to Blake's 10. But it was close. Dave, you get the championship belt and the last word.
And having just come back from vacation, I was not at all prepared. So what I will do is call out 2 new reports on our team, or relatively new reports. One by Jingchu Ren on Black consumers. We just referenced the sort of month. Jingchu keyed off Black History Month in February, and we've got Juneteenth later this month. So for anyone who's trying to communicate to that demographic, that's a great report to read. And then Patty Saltis published on the Voice of the Customer, and it's a need for a refresh for a lot of organizations. So go check those out.
Very nice. InsiderIntelligence.com. Pro subscribers, they're all yours. It's time now for Uncommon Knowledge. Welcome to Uncommon Knowledge, the segment where we offer up some unpopular or atypical opinions about things. We start with an unpopular opinion from the BBC Radio 1 feature this was inspired by. Then an unpopular opinion from the internet. Finally, we get an unpopular opinion from one of our analysts related to the media or retail world. So we have 3 for you. We start with one from BBC Radio 1. The debrief, air quotes, is better than the night out. Allow me to explain. So do you know the night after you've kind of woken up, whether you're like the people that are kind of scattered, you went out with are scattered around your living room floor with you, or whether you've like called them from your apartment to kind of check in on how they're doing, make sure they're still alive. That part, the reliving of the night, is more fun or better than the night.
Depends on the night.
I kind of agree with this one, actually. I think it could be quite, because in the night it's very stressful. Who's going to get arrested? Who are you going to lose? You know, there's a lot of, but whereas afterwards, like everyone's still alive, it was pretty funny, wasn't it?
Depends on your memory too, right? So you could be wondering who got arrested and who's still alive.
That's true. What kind of nights are you having, Dave?
I agree with that, but I would go one step further that the pre-party or the pre-game is always the peak.
Okay.
Then the night out is like usually, the hype kind of cools off a little bit because the anticipation is always better than the actual thing. But then if something crazy happens, then yeah, the next day, who's where, where everybody ended up, then I do agree that there is some merit there.
Evelyn?
The first thing that came to my mind was I don't know if it was a few months ago. Yeah, it was a few months ago. Time is meaningless these days. But a few months ago, I went out to watch UNC play Duke in the Final Four game of the NCAA tournament, and the debrief would not have matched the night out there. I think in a lot of cases, the debrief is better, but there is nothing that could have compared to. I went to the UNC bar here in New York City, and when UNC won, I do not know how that building is still standing. It was wild, and I have a video of it, but nothing will compare to being there in person. So those nights are the ones that pop in my memory where I'm like, I don't know. There are some nights where the debrief is better, but a lot of them
for people who want to see the video, click below in the show notes.
I dropped my phone in the video too because I swear the building was shaking and my phone just tumbled out of my hand. So most of the video is just me trying to find my phone on the floor. Yeah. So
I bet Duke fans have a slightly different interpretation on that night too, though.
They love the pregame.
Yeah.
It peaked.
Okay, one from the internet for you real quick. The beach is horribly overrated. Sand stays with you forever, and salt water is just awful. I think I'm with them here.
I'm with them on the sand. I don't mind the salt water. The sand, can't stand it.
It's always such a hassle to get there. And then you can't really get comfortable. You sit up straight. You're kind of lying in an awkward position on a towel, trying to stay on the towel. There's nowhere to get any food. You're going to walk 3 hours onto the boardwalk to find something. You're just cooking the whole time. I don't love it.
I think if you're not prepared for the beach, then yes, the beach can be awful. Because I like.
What are you trying to say, Evelyn? Like Marcus, you sound desperately unprepared when you're going to the beach.
I like to bring a picnic and all those things. It can be really nice, especially if it's not crowded. But the sand, it's inescapable, and it will follow you home, and it will stay. It will stay there for an inexplicably
forever.
Long amount of time.
Put the sand in your sandwich.
Yeah. Oh, the beach is awful. There, I said it. All right, let's go. Dave, he has one for us about rating things.
Yeah, I am just over ratings. We have hit rating overload in my opinion. And frankly, not everything needs to be rated. For a while we've seen everything from delivery to Uber to whatever else, but it's getting completely ridiculous. Every time you do a service call, you get an NPS survey. Would you recommend this service or product to a friend? Based on a service call. It makes no sense. But where it really hit peak overload for me was last week. I was in Frankfurt Airport and I was asked to punch a green, yellow, or red button by a company called Feedback Now regarding my satisfaction with the cleanliness. If I was even inclined to touch that thing and touch the red button, why the hell would I touch it? You're leaving a bathroom. You don't know who else has touched it. It has, to use an American expression, jumped the shark, and it just needs to go away.
Yeah.
Jumped the shark.
Is that an American expression?
I've never
What does that mean?
heard it before.
Do you know the
Happy Days.
Yeah, Happy Days.
Oh, that's probably why.
There's an episode when, like, I don't know at what point, at what season of Happy Days, but Fonzie jumps the shark wearing he literally is like water skiing, and he literally jumps the shark. And I believe, Dave, is he wearing his trademark leather jacket when he jumps the shark on water skis? Are you
I do
aware?
not know, but you'd have to assume. I've only read about it.
I would assume that
I
he
didn't
is.
know
So
what the
he's
expression meant.
So he's wearing like a bathing suit, but it was, like, I guess like the 70s. So it's a pretty high, pretty short bathing suit. And then he's wearing, because he's the Fonz, he's wearing a leather jacket and he's water skiing, and he water skis over a shark. And people say that that's when the show kind of lost its flair.
Became a parody of itself, kind of
It
thing.
became a parody of, yeah, exactly, like a parody of itself. So now jumping the shark became sort of the phrase.
Well,
I feel like we're only marginally off topic.
We're talking about media.
Yeah, exactly.
I feel like I
Nice.
got a
We're
lot
ba-
out of that.
We're back.
Cultural touch
We're
point.
back. There we go. Do we rate things too much? Probably. I mean, if you've seen Nosedive, which is the Black Mirror episode, season 3, episode 1, then yes, we do.
Oh,
we
we're
do-
back
we
on
do
topic
rate-
now.
Yeah. Oh, here we go. Here we are. What do we think, folks? Do we agree with Dave?
For me, that was when Black Mirror jumped the shark.
Well played. Damn it, Blake. Yeah, I think we probably do, no?
Yeah.
We are rating things too much.
Yeah, I think I have
100%.
gotten noticeably more angry at the number of emails I get from companies asking me to rate my experience. I'm like, stop! I have better things to do with my time. So
The only thing people should be rating is behind the numbers, 5 stars on wherever
Very nice.
wherever you get
Get
your
that mug.
podcast listening. Yeah.
Very nice. Well played, Blake.
got to answer the
Extra
trivia
points.
question and get the mug that Marcus.
Oh, you do. Thank you guys for reminding me. Stuart, who runs the team, is going to kill me / maybe get rid of me altogether if I don't actually tell people about this competition. We have a giveaway 2 times a month. I read out a question. If you get the question right, then you just email your right answer in to podcast@emarketer.com. Add a review, a screenshot of your review of the podcast. If it's bad, you probably won't win the mug. Let's be real. And then you get a free mug. So question, right answer to the question plus good, stellar, a glowing review equals free mug. There, Stuart, I did it. Because of Evelyn.
I'm ashamed to admit
Blake.
that I have actually, every time I listen to the Weekly Listen, and I listen every week, or really the podcast, and the mug comes up, I'm like, can I win the mug? If I go on and submit a review, can I win the mug?
You can't, no.
Yeah,
because
that's what I thought.
No, you can. And anyone listening who's thinking the similar thing, thinking, oh, well, will I win? Like, what's the point of submitting? There's going to be thousands. No. There's no one who's written it. Well, we had a few. So if you send something in, it's not a very stiff competition for the mug.
So I can't win the mug, but you can, dear listener.
Evelyn can't, but yeah, everyone else can. Okay. All right, that's what we've got time for what did we just do? Uncommon knowledge is where we were. It's time now for dinner party data. Get it together, Johnson. This is the part of the show where we tell you about the most interesting thing we've learned this week. We start with Dave because he won this week's Game of the Week. Dave, it's all yours.
Yeah, so as I mentioned, I just got back from vacation, and Evelyn mentioned her languages. Malta, where I started vacation, has 2 official languages, which got me to thinking about countries and official language counts. So anyone want to hazard a guess at which country has the most official languages?
Switzerland. Oh no, Belgium.
Switzerland would have 4, Belgium has 3.
Oh, I thought Belgium because of
Off
the
the top
EU.
of my head, I could be wrong.
China.
China's a good guess, but no.
South Africa.
No, but good guess. My guess was India. The answer is Zimbabwe, which South Africa is pretty close.
Yeah.
Which has 16 according to the Guinness Book of Records.
Wow.
Yeah. India actually has 22 recognized languages or something, but not all. A lot of them are regional, so they doesn't count from a records point of view. So the EU has 24, if anyone was interested. And the USA has
1.
none.
None.
Oh, no.
No official language. English is not the official language of the country, apparently.
Whoa.
Wow.
Oh, well, that's actually good. I thought the U.S. would be one of those countries where even though it's so multilingual, we put our foot in the ground and say one. But I think that's kind of unique that we don't have any. I kind of like that.
We should have one. English. None of that American stuff.
Tally-ho.
Okay.
Let's move on.
Well played. Very good indeed. How's your trip? Good?
Awesome. Really great.
Best part of it?
I was traveling with my son for 2 weeks, so we got to hang out. And, yeah.
Nice.
It was cool. And he's 17,
nice.
so he's allowed to drink in Europe. So we had a lot of glasses of wine, which was kind of nice to hang out together.
Here we go. For pictures of that, please
check Evelyn's phone
just below. Yeah. Check Evelyn's phone. Evelyn, you're up. What you got for us?
All right, so June is apparently National Dairy Month. And I use that as a segue to talk about something that I learned not so recently, but I still find fascinating. Did you know that the U.S. has the largest domestic reserve of cheese? All varieties.
What does this mean?
Okay, so according to a 2018 article from the Washington Post, the Department of Agriculture inventoried 1.4 billion pounds of cheese stored in a cave underneath Springfield, Missouri. That's in 2018. And if 1.4 billion pounds is hard to wrap your mind around, consider this. The average adult male elephant weighs about 9,000 pounds. So there's almost 156,000 elephants worth of cheese in this cave in Missouri.
Why? Why, America? You've taken the cheese thing too far now. Okay.
The government started reserving cheese in the 70s when then President Carter wanted to raise the price of milk to help out dairy farmers who were producing way more milk than there was demand for. And that's also when Got Milk, came about. And milk is easier stored as cheese, so voila. Cheese reserve.
I know how obsessed with cheese Americans are, so I can just hear everyone's mind working, listening to this, being like, yeah, but where specifically is it? Like, where exactly is all of this cheese?
I don't know if I'd be interested in touring the cheese cave. I think it might be a little overwhelming.
Yes,
I don't know.
Tasting? I'd be interested.
Oh.
Although I think I'd rather do cheese in France than
no offense, America.
Yeah, definitely. Because I mean, it is all varieties of cheese. All varieties.
Yeah, but then you got the
cheese.
unpasteurized, there because you can't import.
Yeah.
All that.
Yep.
All right. Very good, Blake. You're up, sir. And if it's not about how the Mets are behind the Dodgers in the standings, I don't want to hear it. So it's close though, mate. It is close.
Let's, we record this podcast a few days ahead of time. It's close enough that I really don't think you have the grounds to even be talking about this.
You said you wanted to bring it up in June. I'm just mentioning. All right. Go on. What were you going to say? Sorry.
So I was reading I've been reading a lot about retail earnings over the last couple of weeks, and I saw it. I also just published a report on subscription e-commerce, which has a pretty big section on retail memberships, and I found it fascinating and impressive that Costco just announced that they just hit an all-time high at the end of Q3. Their US and Canada renewal rate was 92.3%, which is up 0.3% from 12 weeks earlier at Q2 end. So I think that's, it's interesting. There's been a lot of talk about subscription fatigue. I think we're all sick of these endless monthly subscriptions that we pay, whether it's for media or for retail memberships, for cheese of the month, what have you. But it just goes to show you that if you do have a really valuable business model that has really, really, really strong customer loyalty, and customers really value the fact that they're willing to pay X amount a month up top for big savings, subscription fatigue might not always be a factor for you. So the subscription model is still viable, but you really have to be offering something that consumers value, like Costco does, and like they're known for.
So we did an episode, our Reimagining Retail show episode last week, May 25th came out. Yeah. And it was about can private label brands inspire a cult-like following? And we ranked, I think, the 5 most cultiest private label brands around. Thinking about cult followings, Costco has to be up there. Anytime you mention them, people lose their minds for a good run to the Costco.
Yeah, Kirkland brand was one of the top 5.
Yeah,
it was. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay, yeah. Mm-hmm.
I completely agree. And also, the Mets and the Dodgers have the same amount of wins. The Mets have lost 2 more games, but they played 2 more games. So I don't really understand why we're even having this conversation.
It sounds like we're in front then. Okay. All right, I got one for you. Very good, Blake. Very good. How much does the average wedding cost? According to popular wedding planning site The Knot, the average wedding cost in 2021 was... Guesses, please, folks. Guesses.
In the U.S.?
Should I
Average
refrain?
wedding
I mean, I've looked
In the
this up
US.
very recently as I am currently planning a
okay.
wedding.
Evelyn goes last.
In the U.S.
In the
specifically?
US. Yeah. I think.
40K.
Yes. Okay. Blake.
I have literally no idea. I guess I'll go 50.
Blake's like 12 bucks.
50K?
12, 13 bucks.
I don't know.
50 is on 50K. All right, Evelyn, what is it?
Well, I don't remember exactly what it is, but it is
Oh,
certainly
well,
a lot.
then what are we
It's
doing?
a lot lower than I thought it was going to be. I believe it's around 29 to 30.
Oh, yeah. Well, according to this source, you're pretty much spot on. Yeah, The Knot says the average wedding cost in 2021 was $28,000. Lauren Schwan, writer at NerdWallet, was noting. Some of those costs: reception venue, $11,000. The dress, $1,000. Transportation, $900. The florist, $2,500. Oh my goodness. The rehearsal dinner. Do we need that? $2,500. Oh, save a bit there. Live band, nearly $5,000. Yeah, that's coming in hot too.
It's so funny. These are like so much lower than I think that they actually should be. I mean, like not that they should be. I think that
Evelyn.
they should be lower, but I'm saying based on my actual experience, I feel like the average cost should be higher.
Should have become
Yeah.
a florist. That's the takeaway that I got.
But you also got to bear
takeaway.
in mind the costs in major cities versus middle of the country, kind of.
Yeah. That can swing
Non-major
us
city.
quite a
It
lot.
doesn't have to be middle of the country, but yeah.
Yeah. A few other stats for you about weddings from The Knot. Pre-pandemic, 2019 to last year, 2021. So 2019 to 2021. Average guest count was 105, down from, 2021, that's down from 131. So from 131 to 105. Average wedding party was down from 10 to 8. The share of those going on a honeymoon or having a destination wedding was back to pre-pandemic levels. And finally, the cost per guest was up from $214 to $266. So that is still up. Finally, top 5 guest entertainment features. Number 1, the photo booth, a classic, 54%. Musical performance, 26%. Video booth or a selfie station, 20%. That sounds a lot like a photo booth. Games, 17%. And a good old bonfire or fire pit, 15%. Especially if you've got s'mores. They might be your best export, America. The schmore, so good. Have you tried it with real chocolate? I need to bring some like actual chocolate back. Like proper bar of chocolate that doesn't taste like soap. No offense, but some offense taken. America?
No, I
And
totally agree.
And try it with that.
I usually push back on your slanders, but British chocolate's way better.
Yes, finally. Only took 3 years. Blake agrees with me. That's all we've got time for. Let's end the episode there. That's all we've got time for today's episode. Thank you to my guests. I thank Evelyn.
Thank you, Marcus. Thanks, everybody.
We thank Blake.
Thanks for having me.
We thank this week's winner of the Game of the Week. It's Dave.
Cheers, Marcus.
And thank you to Victoria. She edits the show. Thanks to everyone listening. We'll see you again on Monday, hopefully, for the Behind the Numbers Daily, an e-marketer podcast made possible by marketing architects. Happy weekends.